We spend so much time focused on growing our wealth, right? Investing, saving, building for the future. But what about protecting it? I mean, that's the foundation of any solid financial plan, but it's the one thing we almost always forget. So today, we're going to dive deep into protection planning and change that. So let me ask you this straight up. What's the one thing, the one single risk that could completely unravel everything you've worked so hard to build? Think about it for a second. Yeah, it's a heavy question, for sure, but it's at the very heart of why we have to talk about this stuff. The stakes, they're incredibly high. All right, so where do we even begin with this? Well, the first step is finding your blind spot, identifying the real threats. It's not about panicking about every little thing, it's about finding those financial weak spots you might not even realize you have. See, the pros don't just wing it, they have a system. And this table is a perfect example of how they think. They look at different areas of your life and ask, okay, what could happen? Maybe you lose your job. Then they ask, and what's the impact? Well, your savings might not be enough to keep you afloat. They do this for everything, your family, your income, your home, even your business. And what you end up with is a crystal clear map of where you're most vulnerable. And here's a really important thing to remember. Life is full of risk. You can't eliminate it completely. I mean, you'd go crazy trying. So the goal isn't to wrap yourself in bubble wrap. It's about being smart. It's about being strategic. And most of all, just being prepared for those curveballs life is definitely going to throw your way. Okay, so we've identified the risks. Now what? How do we actually build a defense? Well, that's where the protection playbook comes in. It's all about having a proactive strategy. And this is what that playbook looks like in action. It's basically a 6-step process. First, you just list out everything you might need to protect. Then, you put a number on it. What's the actual financial fallout if something happens? Next, and this is key, you rank them. What's most important? After that, you look at what you already have in place, figure out what you can realistically afford for new stuff, and then, finally, you make a plan. It's a super methodical way to build that fortress one brick at a time. Oh, and this is absolutely not a set it and forget it kind of deal. Your plan has to adapt because you adapt. Your life changes. Think about it. When you're in your 20s or 30s, maybe with little kids, life cover is probably priority number one. But fast forward a few decades, you're in your 50s or 60s, suddenly things like sickness cover or long-term care become way more important. The plan has to evolve with you. All right, we've got our strategy. Now it's time to choose our armor. Let's get into the actual tools of protection you can use. Now, before we get into the different types of armor, there's this one kind of nerdy term we have to get out of the way: insurable interest. It sounds complicated, but trust me, it's not. All it means is that you have to have a real financial reason to want someone to stay alive, to insure them. It's basically the rule that stops you from taking out $1 million policy on your neighbor you've never spoken to. Makes sense, right? Okay, so one of the most common tools in the toolbox is term assurance, but it's not a one-size-fits-all thing. First up, you've got level cover. The payout amount stays the same, the premium stays the same. Simple, predictable. Then there's increasing cover, which is pretty clever. It goes up each year to keep pace with inflation so your money doesn't lose its buying power. And finally, decreasing cover, which is tailor-made for things like a mortgage, since the payout shrinks as your loan balance shrinks. Now, here's another huge piece of the puzzle: critical illness cover. And let's be clear, this is not about dying. This is about getting a tax-free lump sum of cash if you get diagnosed with a really serious, specific illness. That money is there to give you breathing room. It can cover medical bills, replace your income while you recover. Honestly, it can be used for whatever you need to get through a tough time. However, and this is a big however, with critical illness cover, the fine print is everything. The list of illnesses they cover is super specific and strictly defined. And get this, you usually have to survive for at least 28 days after your diagnosis to get the money. Plus, and this is a big one to know, once they pay out a claim, the policy is usually done. Kaput, even if it was a joint policy. So you absolutely have to read the fine print on these. And the arsenal doesn't stop there. There's a whole range of other tools. You've got accident and sickness protection, which can help replace your income. There's medical insurance for private healthcare costs. You've got long-term care protection for later in life. And there's even specialized business protection designed to keep a company going if it loses a key person. It's a broad set of options. So, okay, you get the risks, you know about the tools, but that's only part of the equation. Now we got to talk about making the right call, selecting your provider. And this is so important. The policy itself is only half the battle. The provider, the actual company behind that piece of paper, is the other half. Seriously, think about it. A super cheap premium today means absolutely nothing if that company isn't even around to pay your claim 20 years from now. So when you're comparing different products, you got to put on your detective hat. Ask the tough questions. First, does this thing actually do what I need it to do? Can I change it later if I need to? Then look at the price. Are the premiums fair? And what about all the hidden charges? Are they clear? And finally, a huge one, how is a payout taxed? You need to have clear answers to all of this. And then you zoom out from the product and look at the company itself. Are they financially solid? I mean, are they going to be here in 20, 30 years? What's their track record? Do they actually pay claims without a massive fight? At the end of the day, you're not just buying a policy, you're choosing a partner for the long haul. So all of this, identifying the risks, making a plan, picking the right armor, it all leads to one place, your financial fortress. This is the ultimate goal. Because here's the real truth of it, the big takeaway. This whole thing, protection planning, it's not morbid. It is not about planning for the end. It's about a complete and total mindset shift. No, it's about building a foundation so strong that no matter what happens, you and the people you love have the security to start the next chapter. It's about securing the beginning of everything else. So I'll just leave you with this one question to think about. Is your foundation solid?